Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Coffee, where today we are going to talk about J.J. Abrams responding to fan criticism of The Rise of Skywalker. We will watch the comments that J.J. makes in response to the criticisms, and then we will discuss it farther, doing a deeper dive into the truths that J.J. expounds upon in his response. That's today here on Star Wars Coffee.
I have spoken.
Hello there to all of the returning subscribers, but if you're new to the channel and you're just finding me for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on this video and any other video from the channel that you check out, and be sure to hit that notification bell so that the bell is completely filled in, as this is the way you will never miss a new video the second it goes live.
Do it!
Thank you all for joining me today. Hopefully you've had a chance to go see The Rise of Skywalker within the last few days. But if you haven't, don't worry because there aren't going to be any spoilers from the film today, so there's no need for the good old spoilers awaken picture in this video. Rather, we will discuss J.J. Abrams in response to fan criticisms. We're going to be able to do this without going into any spoilers, so once again, there's no need for any spoiler warning. However, we're going to take a look at this comment J.J. made at the director's screening of The Rise of Skywalker, where they showed the film and then they had a little bit of a Q&A where JJ and Chris and others were able to answer some questions about the film. And one of the questions that JJ was asked was what he thinks about the criticisms that he's going to be receiving from fans and that he's already received about his choices in The Rise of Skywalker. So what we're going to do is take a look at his answer, and then we're going to discuss it further and dive a little deeper into what JJ is actually trying to say here. So let's check it out.
A vast audience for this. How do you deal with people, or how does it make you feel, or what would you say to people who don't like what happens, or wish it was something different? Is there a problem with the fandom that?
No, I'd say that they're right. You know, the people who love it more than anything are also right. You know, we knew going in. I was asked just I think 7 hours ago in other countries. Someone said, "So how do you go about pleasing everyone?" And I was like, what? Like, not to say that should be what anyone tries to do anyway, but how would one even go about it? Especially with Star Wars. I don't need to tell anyone here, we live in a moment where everything immediately seems to default to outrage. And there's a kind of an MO of just of it's either exactly as I see it or you're my enemy. And it's a bit like magicians. You'd think magicians would all just get along. Magicians hate each other. Now, I'm sure there are exceptions, and I'm sure someone will write to me like, "That's not fair, and I hate you," and they'll be right.
Unshaded magicians. I can't believe.
No, but it's like it's a crazy thing that there is such a sort of a norm that seems to be devoid of nuance and compassion. This is not about Star Wars. It's about everything. You know, compassion and acceptance and allowing people to. It's a crazy moment. So we knew starting this, any decision we made, a design decision, a musical decision, a narrative decision, would please someone and infuriate someone else. And they're all right. And Chris wants to say something.
Well, no, and then your only compass, really, your only North Star is your heart and how you feel about this. I mean, we went into this movie knowing it was a love letter to Star Wars. It was a love letter to the old school kind of filmmaking that inspired George, Republic serials, Flash Gordon, samurai movies, all these other genre references that we love, and it's the stuff about Hollywood movie making that we love. It's the big mythic stuff that we love. And so we went into it sort of deciding that is what we wanted the final episode to be.
JJ makes a very interesting point that I think is extremely true, especially in today's world, where he's talking about that if you don't agree with it 100%, then you are now the enemy. And this is something that's very prevalent in the culture today, and I don't think you have to look very hard to see it, especially within any community of fans or any political party or whatever it is. There's always going to just be this great divide between somebody. Whether you don't agree with them completely, then that must mean that you would think that they are wrong. This sense is that if you feel something to be true, then it must be true. That's kind of the main argument that JJ's getting in, when he's talking about whether or not you agree with the stylistic choice he made or whether it would be the narrative choice he made. He's just consciously aware while he was making the movie, which good on him that he was aware of this, that at some point there's always going to be one person or many people who disagree with any given decision that JJ is going to make. He understands this concept that there's always going to be somebody who likes it and that there's going to be somebody who hates it. So there's no way to please all people. And I really like the way JJ starts off by answering that, understanding the fact that there's no way he can please all people. He kind of makes that quick little joke about it, gets a quick jab at it, because he understands that this isn't even a possible thing. And it seems that in today's culture, what he's really getting at, especially with the type of magician joke, is even if you're in the same camp, that doesn't mean you agree on everything. He used the magician's analogy. And the sense that if you feel something that it must be true is kind of what he's talking about with especially Star Wars, where it's really this deep connection that people have to these films. And just because you feel it doesn't make it reality. So your feelings don't equate to reality. Let's take the Rotten Tomatoes score for instance. The tomato meter for The Rise of Skywalker with the current critic count of 355 sits at an abysmal 57% certified rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, where if you go to the audience score that they have, verified ratings are 29,401 with a score of 86%. So we have two differing opinions between the critics and the fans. We have two different consensus. And the Rotten Tomatoes score, for instance, is much lower, whereas the fans is much higher. So there's two different perceptions, but which one is real? Both of them are real, but neither of them impacts the reality, which is the fact that what JJ's talking about, that the movie he made is the movie he made. Just because you disagreed with the decision doesn't change the outcome of the movie. It doesn't change what happened in the movie. And that's really what he's getting at. And I think even broader, what he's kind of insinuating is that just because Disney Star Wars is canon along with the previous 6 films, people who pretend that they aren't there won't erase them from existence. And I think that's the bigger scope of the argument that JJ's putting forward, is he understands that there's already a lot of hatred and a lot of criticism towards the Disney canon of Star Wars, whereas people want the EU and they want all of these certain things. But even beyond that, he really gets into the idea that there's many different aspects of canon, and especially within Disney canon, Disney Star Wars canon, you can nitpick literally anything from any one of these 3 movies, and even beyond that, any of the 9 movies in the Skywalker saga. And just because you disagree with a decision doesn't change the fact that that decision was made, which is what I think JJ's hinting at when he's responding to fan criticism, especially when he says they're both right, because they all have these feelings that they feel are justified, which is going back to the idea that your feelings are there, but that doesn't change the reality of what happened in the film. And so I think JJ has a really good idea here, and I think what he's talking about makes a lot of sense. And I really wish that everybody would take a look at what JJ's comments are here, as I think that this would help a lot of fans really understand that JJ knew he couldn't please everybody, and I think that this would kind of change their perception of him, if at all, just a little. So thank you guys for watching. May God bless you and the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this episode, and frankly, even if you didn't, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give this video a thumbs up and tell your friends to subscribe. Please check out the official Star Wars Coffee merchandise, and don't forget to check out all of the content playlists on this channel, including The Rise of Skywalker, The Mandalorian, and much more.